going to be real. I'm going to be very real. It's been very clear that I don't like Stephanie White as coach Caitlin Clark. I made that clear a year ago.
Clip 1, expanded. I was the first person to bring up this issue, and I want to make something clear from the very beginning. My opinion wasn't based on one bad game or an emotional reaction after a disappointing loss. These concerns had been on my mind long before this matchup ever took place. In fact, nearly a year ago, I publicly said that the coaching partnership between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark didn't seem like the right fit. At that time, very few people were willing to question it, but I believed their styles might not work well together. The recent performance didn't create my opinion. It simply added more fuel to concerns that I've been raising for quite some time.
But we gotta be real here. This was an 8-point game with 6 minutes to go. Caitlin Clark's third quarter turnovers did not lose them a game. That was an 8-point game with 6 minutes to go. Like, she hadn't turned the ball over in the second half until it was a 1-point.
Then, on June 20th, the Indiana Fever faced Atlanta, and for many fans, the game seemed to confirm those earlier concerns. The Fever were defeated 113-96 in a one-sided contest that quickly became one of the biggest talking points in the basketball world. The loss sparked strong reactions from fans, analysts, and media members, with many questioning what went wrong. Almost immediately, people began debating whether the defeat exposed deeper problems within the team or if it was simply one bad performance.
Look at Caitlin Clark's reaction here when she talks about what lost in the game.
I think it started with our turnovers. And we had 9 turnovers. They had 11 points off of those turnovers. It's hard for us to recover when they get those direct points, and there's no...
Opinions across the basketball community have been sharply divided ever since the game ended. Some believe Caitlin Clark should take most of the responsibility because of her turnovers, while others argue she was far from the main reason the Indiana Fever lost. Many point to coaching decisions, defensive struggles, and the team's overall performance as equally important factors. Before deciding who's right, it's important to look at how the game unfolded, examine the biggest turning points, and understand what really caused the momentum to shift in Atlanta's favor.
Letting it be known to the public, letting it be known to your teammates that you are the reason we lost this game. Because you better believe Caitlin Clark is already blaming herself. Like, she's already blaming herself. And I'm going to be real.
The Indiana Fever started the game well and looked comfortable during the first half. They built a 44-33 lead late in the second quarter and went into halftime ahead 59-56. But everything changed after the break. Atlanta exploded with a 28-5 run in the third quarter, completely flipping the game. From that point on, the Fever lost control, and their game plan fell apart as Atlanta took over.
It's always going to be, when they win, it's all Caitlin. When they lose, it's never Caitlin. But the problem is with the media, it's the opposite. When they win, it's all Kelsey Mitchell. And when they lose, it's all Caitlin. Kelsey Mitchell is the best player on the team until Kelsey Mitchell has 0 points in an entire half, and they lose that half.
Things only got worse as the Indiana Fever trailed by as many as 22 points before losing 113-96, a 17-point defeat. Even with the loss, Caitlin Clark finished with a game-high 26 points and 7 assists. She also had 7 turnovers, and that quickly became the biggest talking point after the game. Because of the attention surrounding Clark, much of the media focused almost entirely on those turnovers instead of her scoring and playmaking.
The fact is that the Indiana Fever were pathetic on defense in the first half. And if the Indiana Fever had played any sort of decent defense, they go into the second half up 18 points, and this game is different. Like, even if they concede.
After the final buzzer, head coach Stephanie White spoke to the media and said turnovers were one of the biggest reasons the team lost. The numbers supported that view. The Indiana Fever committed 10 turnovers in the third quarter alone, which played a huge role in the momentum swinging toward Atlanta. Caitlin Clark had 5 of those turnovers, meaning she was responsible for half of them during the most important stretch of the game.
Fourth quarter, when it was in crunch time, and you put on Ty Harris with 7 minutes to go for Kelsey Mitchell. You pulled Kelsey. It's an 8-point game with 7 minutes to go, and you pull Kelsey Mitchell. Like, I've never heard Stephanie White say, "I made a wrong decision."
One thing that stood out about Caitlin Clark was how she handled the criticism. She didn't avoid questions or make excuses. Instead, She accepted responsibility and admitted the team needed to do a much better job taking care of the ball. She also said that the responsibility starts with her and that she has to cut down on her own turnovers. In the end, both Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark agreed that turnovers were a major reason behind the loss.
Not criticized her system once. She's not criticized her coaching decisions once. And every coach I know, especially a coach that is reactionary who constantly changes their game plans, every single coach has said, look, I got the game plan wrong. At least once in their career. I messed up the game plan.
But the reason this game created so much debate goes beyond the turnovers. Every basketball team turns the ball over from time to time. The bigger discussion is about how Stephanie White explained the loss after the game. Many critics believe her comments focused heavily on turnovers while giving much less attention to other problems. Because of that, many people feel the post-game message shaped the public conversation and influenced where the blame was placed.
There is no worse fit as far as coaches and player is concerned than Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark. And it's this weird thing in the WNBA because they don't dislike each other as people. That therefore they have to continue to play with each other. No, it's like Mike D'Antoni coaching Kobe Bryant. It just didn't work. Mike D'Antoni was an unbelievable coach. Kobe Bryant was one of the greatest of all time. It didn't work.
The biggest issue isn't the turnovers themselves. Anyone who has been around competitive team sports knows that a coach's post-game comments can strongly influence how fans see a game. When Stephanie White focused on turnovers but spent less time discussing the team's offensive approach, player rotations, or defensive struggles, many people naturally connected those mistakes to Caitlin Clark. That quickly created a story that placed much of the blame on her. The criticism isn't that Stephanie White was dishonest. Instead, many believe she highlighted one part of the loss while giving far less attention to other factors that also mattered. Just 2 weeks earlier, the Indiana Fever held the Atlanta Dream to their lowest score of the season and won by 12 points. That alone makes claims that Stephanie White is intentionally trying to hurt Caitlin Clark hard to support. The real question is whether the coaching style is the right match. A comparison often made is Mike D'Antoni and Kobe Bryant. Both were highly successful, but their basketball styles didn't fully match. Some people now see a similar situation with Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark. Both are extremely talented, but they may not be getting the best out of each other. The team's high turnover numbers and Clark's reduced role as the primary ball handler suggest the current offense may not be using her biggest strengths. After the game, Clark accepted responsibility for her mistakes, but critics believe White should have also acknowledged the team's defensive problems and some questionable coaching decisions. While it's unfair to accuse White of intentionally holding Clark back, many feel she needs to take greater responsibility. In the end, the biggest question is whether Stephanie White can adjust her system to maximize Caitlin Clark's talent, or whether the Indiana Fever will eventually need to consider a different direction.